phone in your pocket. Pull up your pants. Now let's do chicken dance.
I think it's going to be on the ballot in November.
In Michigan?
To make it illegal, yeah.
To make it legal.
Legal. Across the country. That'd be dope for us, huh?
No pun intended. Was the pun intended?
No, it wasn't intended.
It would have been great if it was.
Is it better when it's intended or unintended?
I feel like it means you're more intelligent when it's intended.
Right. But then why do people constantly call out no pun intended?
Because
they're saying they're dumb, or they think
they realize
no
it afterwards, and they want to make a comment of, "Wasn't that cute?" It's like emphasizing.
I wonder why you have to let people know
because
if your pun was intended or not.
They don't want people to miss it. Like, you would say that would be dope.
Yeah.
If I don't say that, no pun intended, then you would. It would be
a lot of people say no pun intended. Like a lot of people go like, "That'd be dope." No pun intended.
Because they realize it later.
Right.
And they want you, as the person listening, to recognize that they've now thought of it.
That they realize they said a pun, but it wasn't intended.
Yes.
But how come when you do mean to lay a pun out there, you go pun intended?
You do.
So anytime you say a pun, there needs to be a clause afterward that lets you know whether the pun was intended or not.
Depending on how much recognition you want for your pun, yes.
Isn't that assuming our audience is really dumb?
What?
Isn't that assuming like your audience, the person you're speaking to, is really dumb, that you need to let them know?
You just said that would be dope, and you didn't even realize it.
No, I just didn't think it needed anything after.
No, you didn't
Whether
realize
it was pun intended or no pun intended, who cares?
I don't care.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I think the world in general, stop with pun intended, no pun intended. Like, you wouldn't do that with any other phrase of speech. Like, metaphor intended. You want to know a rebranding situation?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I do.
That's amazing. There is a movie theater. The only movie theater in Aspen is called the ISIS Theater.
Oh.
Super unfortunate.
Yeah, really tough problem. Just change the name to anything.
But then the terrorists win, Jonathan. That guy did not have a gun.
Pretty sure he has a knife.
Well, I have a knife. That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Yep, I don't get the reference.
Did you ever see Crocodile Dundee?
No.
Oh, he comes to New York City in the second one. In the first one, this girl comes to him, and he falls in love. In the second one, he goes to New York, and these muggers come up to him, and he's wearing like his freaking like crocodile vest with his hat. And they go, "Give us your money." And he goes, "What?" They're like mugging him and his girl. I don't know if this is going to be an accurate reenactment. This is how I remember it. "Give us your money." And he's like, "What? Why would I give you my money?" That's terrible Australian accent. What?
What's going on with your face?
I got to do it to get the Australian accent.
What?
Oi, crocky. Okay. Think a minute now. What? I can't really use certain words, but that's right.
He says what?
He says
20 times in a row.
"Why did I give you my money?" And he goes, "Can't you see I got a knife?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm in the weeds now. Can't you see I got a knife?" He goes, and then he literally takes out the biggest Bowie knife. It's like this big. And he goes, "That's not a knife. This is a knife." And then the guys just run away. It's a pretty famous scene.
Yeah. I have tears.
I can do the.
All you can do is go, "What?"
No.
What?
I can do. Crocky.
No.
That sounds Australian.
You're saying like, crocky.
Yeah, you sound pretty Australian there.
First try.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
We've got Prerna Gupta with us today. She is the CEO and co-founder of Hooked. And you should go directly to the App Store and download Hooked, which is has a little owl icon. You should check it out because it's very cool. Can you just inform us, give us like a brief overview about what you actually do?
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur based in Silicon Valley now, although I've been in and out of Silicon Valley for the past decade. and I like to build mobile apps, and I focus on the intersection of art and technology. I also co-found startups with my husband Parag, and we're on our third startup together. And Hooked is redefining fiction for the Snapchat generation. So it's an iPhone app that presents stories as text message conversations. And our goal is to make reading and writing fiction addictive for teenagers.
Great.
That sounds like an impossible goal.
I have a personal testimony here. I've probably started 1,000 books in my life. I think that's a fair estimate, and I've probably completed 15. What'd you say? 3?
3.
No. 3. So anyhow, I've started 1,000 books, completed 15, and then no, it's not 3. He keeps motioning 3. And then when we first got introduced to you and what you guys were building, I finished like 15, but now granted they're short form. But I felt like I had completed something. I was proud of myself.
Yeah. They do feel like you completed something, for sure. But I don't know if you can qualify them as books.
Well, then if I don't qualify these stories as books, then I guess maybe I finished 2 books in my entire life.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we've actually found that it works really well on VCs also. So it's like teenagers and VCs, they seem to have similar attention spans these days. And the app works well on you guys too.
So I actually wasn't going to talk about this until later, but since you just kind of led into it, one thing that I found fascinating was that the first investor update you sent us was actually inside of your own app, and it was formatted like all of your other stories. And it was the first time where the light bulb went off in my head. Obviously it did in yours much earlier, where I saw it being used for nonfiction as well.
Yep.
Do you have any intention of going that direction?
So the app was designed for narrative, but what we've realized that as we have experimented with different forms, some like the investor update, we're talking to some of our other investors to potentially start doing things like interviews with other famous people. We realize that narrative, it makes almost any type of information more interesting and easier to digest. And so our belief is that, as we open up Hooked to let anyone create their own content in the app, that people will start to, adopt the Hooked platform, not just for telling stories, but for telling real life events.
Cool. So Prerna, in the spirit of, we've been talking a lot about stories and narratives right now. What's like the last thing you read for pleasure?
So the book I'm reading right now is Ready Player One.
Oh, the best book.
So one of the 3 books that I've finished.
That's one of the ones Jonathan's ever read.
That is one of the ones I've ever read.
That's awesome.
One of the things that we were so impressed with when we first met you guys was that you're really data driven. Can you talk a little bit about how you integrate data in your whole philosophy?
So data is actually how we started. It was the initial reason that we started this company. So I mentioned that, my co-founder and I were traveling and working on a novel. And as we were writing, so we spent about 15 months writing our novel, and we wrote 100,000 words, which is like 300 pages. And at the end of it, we had all this stuff, and it wasn't a complete book, but we had spent all these months working on something, and we had no idea whether anyone was going to like what we'd written and which parts of what we had written worked and which parts didn't. And we realized it was really, really odd, because we're used to developing, we're used to lean startup, right? You develop an app, you spend a few weeks developing it, you put it out, you put analytics into it, and you get information about what's working and what's not, and you iterate and you make it better. And it felt really strange to have spent so much time working on something and had zero access to feedback from our audience. And so that was actually the seed of the idea. We wanted to understand, can we use a lean startup philosophy for content development? Can we use data to identify when a story is good and when it's resonating with our readers?
So you have, in this conversation, referred to your co-founder, and also let it be known that he's also your husband. What's it like to work with your spouse on a day-to-day basis, and how do you handle that and separate kind of work from your relationship?
Yeah. My co-founder is my husband. We've been working together for over a decade. This is our third startup together. I think it depends on the nature of your relationship. It obviously really works for us because we choose to do it again and again. The most important thing is making sure that the wife is in charge. I think that no, but in addition to that, I think the most important thing is having complementary skill sets and kind of clear separation of who's doing what. If we have difference of opinion on something, there's always a clear point of authority.
Okay, well, you are behind a curtain, and there are 3 people opposite side of the curtain. You get to ask one question that all 3 will answer, and based upon their answer, you have to marry one on the spot. What question do you ask?
What's the most important thing in life and why?
Okay. The most important thing in life and why.
How would you want that to be answered in a perfect world?
Yeah, what's your ideal answer? How would your husband answer that?
It should be love.
Should do like a blind test with her husband.
We should just call him right now. Let's just prank him right now.
Him in, he's gonna be like, money.
Okay, Prerna, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone listening, go to hooked.co and download the app. It's definitely addictive, and I'm hooked. Boom.
Ditto. Hooked.
Hooked. You're awesome.
Thanks, guys.
I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye. You
Bye.
always wave.
I always
Why did you
wave. I don't know.